Filled with peace of the connection with the one presence and the one power. We awaken our hands and flutter our eyes open and smile. Thank you, Tatiana. Of all the many names for God, and there are quite a few, some as old as time itself, some seem rather new. I've got a favorite, and maybe you do too. Mine is out of the blue. Out of the blue, out of the blue. It all worked out and everything came through. Deals were done, songs were sung, and the time, well, it just flew. And it all came from out of the blue. At times I feel so full of doubt and don't know where I fit. Tired and my mind keeps saying might be time to quit. Then just when I get quiet, 'cause that something tells me to, hope comes from out of the blue, out of the blue, out of the blue, where everything's created old and new. I'll have the best idea, and I know what to do, and it all came from out of the blue. Everything's created twice, first in thought and then in form. You have been creating from the moment you were born. Out of the blue, out of the blue, whether or not you believe it's true, just your being here is the biggest clue that you came from out of the blue. Yeah, we all came from out of the blue. Thank you. Out of the blue, out of the blue. Whether or not you believe it's true, just your being here is the biggest clue that you came from out of the blue. So in January of 2020, I needed to break up with my life and I didn't know how. And then COVID hit. Things changed. And I sat down and stayed in my jammies and watched, I could only watch Anne with an E and Call the Midwife and Heartland. I discovered this show, Heartland. Horses. Because Anne with an E and especially Call the Midwife, every episode made me cry. And that's what I needed to do. I talked a little bit about this last week, in that I was so grief-stricken that I was popped out of I feel stuck. I thought, well, all bets are off now. It's not about anything, but my gosh, the end of the world as I had known it. Really, I didn't think I'd be present for this time. I thought we had time. I thought we had time before this. And I think that's very human. So all my singer-songwriter friends were calling me saying, you gotta get online. You gotta get your rig up. You gotta get your camera and I did have a ring light. You gotta get on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and you gotta get busy. I thought, I'm not doing anything. Really, and it was so incredibly quiet. It was so incredibly quiet. And the daily decisions were innervating, weren't they? They still are. That daily decision of yes, and no, and so it's and now there's a new, and it's like finally there just came a time where I thought I have to turn this off. And so in June of 2020, there was a little window. I was living in Evanston, and there was a little window of time, and I thought, well, I have siblings, one in Maryland, one in Minnesota, and one in Kentucky. Guess which one I was not going to? Just because it did not call me. Minnesota called me. Have you been to Minnesota? Ooh, mighty purty. And my sister Erin and her husband Bob and their standard poodle Luna, the wonder dog, live in the Lake Minnetonka area, about 35 minutes outside of Minneapolis. And my mom had moved to Minnesota in the 70s to work in the theater up there. And so I was familiar with Minnesota, and it's where I discovered Unity. Actually, my mother's friend had started sending her the Daily Word, and I was visiting my mom. And, what's this? And I read it, and I felt better. Mm-hmm. I felt better. And then I read Unity magazine. Jim Rosner was my favorite author in Unity magazine, and I felt even better. And I was intrigued. And then I came back from a visit up there and decided, I'd like to go to a Unity service. And there was one. I grew up in Crystal Lake, which I've used Lenny Bruce's line ad nauseum. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And one of my best friends moved there recently voluntarily. She said, "We're moving to Crystal Lake." I go, "On purpose?" But it's beautiful now. It's beautiful now. Anyway, I found out where the Unity Church in Crystal Lake was, and it was in a theater that was called the Chalet Theater. This was 1979. And as I pulled up, this is not an easy story to tell, so I need to tell it. So I pulled up to Unity of Crystal Lake at the Chalet Theater and realized it was the same building my sister Kevin was on her way to see her boyfriend. After a rehearsal, my sister Kevin was an actress and had been accepted to the Royal Academy her senior year at Crystal Lake High School to study, the Royal Academy in London, to study acting and painting. She was a brilliant artist. And she was on her way to the theater to see her boyfriend when she was killed in a car accident. So this was, of course, rending of the veil even more. It was 3 months after my father had suddenly passed from a stroke. I was 11. So in 1965, I dove into the music after the death of my father and my sister Kevin. So when I pulled up to Unity Church, a former theater, wow, that got my attention. And I picked up a book by Emmett Fox. I can't remember which one, but I had also, when I was up in Minnesota, discovered Alana, a 12-step program for friends and family of alcoholics and people of concern now. We don't call people alcoholics and addicts anymore. We call them people of concern. So I went to Minnesota and in June of 2020 and hit the reset button. My sister has a couple of horses that she boards at a wonderful barn about 10 minutes from her house. And it's a co-op. And 6 other women board their horses at this barn. I learned how to drive an ATV. And and I can muck a paddock like nobody's business. And lifting bales of hay. My sister Erin is like crazy, freakishly strong. And I felt Minnesota women as a whole, wow. They're not kidding. And I had a wonderful time just relax. Just be in the day, hit the reset button. You're not going anywhere. I wanted to be with family. I didn't want to be alone. And it was incredibly healing. In October, I was offered a training in recovery specialty. So for several months, I took training online to be a certified recovery specialist, which took amazing work, amazing, a calling. And that's really what called me and has always called me. So I get to take 40 years of recovery and 32 years of spiritual counseling and prayer practitioner and religious science and unity into service. And I'm at that age where I've had enough stage time. I've had to thank you very much. Now it's others' turn, and I'm honored to help people and pass the message on. But what I realized is there's creativity that we all feel around the age between like 7 and 14. This week, I want you to think about where your heart was really between 7 and 14 years of age. What you were doing, what sort of lit you up. Because I think it's in that time that there's enough of being in the world but not of it, where you're just kind of, they say, you know, Freud said that we were cooked by 3. I'm like, 3? That's nothing, you know. But that we are continuously getting a download, of course. Till we're about 7, that's when, you know, the mystics say, this guy gets covered up with the world, you know, and we feel the eyes of the world on us. So, again, I want to refer back to my mom. When my father and my sister passed, my mother was, you know, she had just known theater, and, you know, she was a little bit of a local celebrity in community theater. And she went back into the theater and had an opportunity to work up there. I went to Chanhassen Dinner Theater, where she was on the boards for several years. And I went to see a concert, masked up, and went to see a concert. And I walked into this theater, and ooh, I was sort of being mugged by the memories and the gratitude and how lucky I was to grow up with really a creative parent. I mean, it wasn't always, we had our moments, certainly, but really a remarkable person. And I, during intermission, I went into the ladies' room, and that was, the ladies' room was plastered with, you know, wallpapered with stage bills and pictures of previous productions. And there's my mom in a scene from a play called The Foreigner. And I asked my sister Erin the next day, I said, gosh, how old was Mom when she did The Foreigner? It was in 1991. And The Foreigner is a very physical comedy, and it's really funny. I said, but was she in her 70s? So Erin said, let's call The Vault. My sister Brenna is The Vault. And Brent says, who's also an actor, my sister Brenna, who said, 86. And then she said, what have you done today? 86, what? So that's the kind of stock I come from, you know. There was very little complaining, but with that also came a sort of stoicism of, buck up. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want to buck up anymore. I don't want to be stoic. I don't want to be strong. I want to let it come up. Let it be healed. It's revealed to be healed. And that is going to take some time. And that's going to take being present with myself. It's also going to take going back. I think, if I may, and I don't want to get in the weeds here, but I think January 6th and all of it, that is unhealed trauma, folks. That is unhealed trauma. For all to see, you know, and it's all coming up, and it's going to call for all the compassion that we have for ourselves first, and then for others. I want to understand. I don't want to, you know, and in that, I want to understand. So this summer, I was reading a book because I still love, you know, I remember our lovely bookstores at Unity churches and the speakers that would come, and you guys, over 40 Unity ministers have left the ministry. This is a change that, of course, nobody saw coming. But unity itself, Charles Fillmore said, if you could call unity anything else, it would be change. And he said, folks, this isn't going to last. Maybe this won't last past the early 90s. It was not intended ever to be a church. It was a teaching. It was in a publishing company. It was a beautiful teaching that I love and that resonated with myself and so many people, that now you can't swing a dead cat, and who would want to, without, hearing it's an abundant universe. When we started saying that back in the day, people were like, those woo-woo people. What we have been teaching is now, it's mainstream, baby. It's mainstream. But we have to, doubt is going to come up like it always has. Our thoughts, our prayers. Oh gosh, I remember early in my Unity days. Don't think that. Don't think that. You can't help first thought. First thought's going to come in. Second thought. That is my choice. I cannot prevent the birds from flying overhead. I can, however, prevent them from making a nest in my hair. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. That's sort of old. New thought is continuing to evolve. There's even the theory God is continuing to evolve. No, I like the one I got. Don't change. Don't change that. Too much change. Anyway, I found this book. It's called Big Magic. Some of you have probably read it, by Elizabeth Gilbert. But in the realm this week, I want you to just think about ages 7 to 14, your creativity, what you loved. And this is what she said. This is called taking vows. When I was about 16 years old, I took vows to become a writer. I mean, I literally took vows. The way a young woman of an entirely different nature might take vows to become a nun. The nuns were recruiting me hard at St. Thomas. It was like, and then I saw the Beatles and I said, all bets are off, sister. I'm marrying Ringo. Of course, I had to invent my own ceremony around these vows because there is no official holy sacrament for a teenager who longs to become a writer. But I used my imagination and my passion, and I made it happen. I love that. She used her imagination, which is one of the 12 powers, and passion. It could be will. And I made it happen. I retreated to my bedroom one night and turned off all the lights. I lit a candle, got down on my honest-to-God knees, and swore my fidelity to writing for the rest of my natural life. My vows are strangely specific and, I would still argue, pretty realistic. I didn't make a promise that I would be a successful writer because I sensed that success was not under my control. Nor did I promise that I would be a great writer because I didn't know if I would be great. Nor did I give myself any time limits for the work. Like, if I'm not published by the time I'm 30, I'll give up this dream and go find another line of work. In fact, I didn't put, this is so important, I didn't put any conditions or restrictions on my path at all. My deadline was never. Instead, I simply vowed to the universe that I would write forever regardless of the result. What? You're American? You call yourself an American? Come on, let's go. I promised that I would try to be brave about it and grateful and as uncomplaining as I could possibly be. I also promised that I would never ask writing to take care of me financially. Ooh. But that I would always take care of it. That makes me tear up. Can you imagine taking what you love and saying, I will always take care of you, like a child. I will nurture you, I will give you every opportunity. Meaning that I would always support us both, by any means necessary. I did not ask for any external rewards for my devotion. I just wanted to spend my life as near to writing as possible,
forever close to that source of all my curiosity and contentment. And so I was willing to make whatever arrangements needed to be made in order to get by. Powerful. So, our beloved Stephen Sondheim passed this week. The same day as one of my dearest and most beloved brothers from another mother. His name is Barry Fosman, also known as Foz, was my first producer and arranger when I was a girl in California. He was a true brother to me, passed the same day Sondheim did, and I thought, well, that was a day for great souls to go out. So, going forward this week, I want to suggest, of course, just giving some thought to creativity, what lit you up as a kid, and that you might just spend a little time with your 12-year-old, your 13-year-old, and take them to tea this week, and take them on what Julia Cameron, the great teacher, tells us, calls an artist's date, taking your inner artist on an artist's date. This is from Sunday in the Park with George. Are you working on something new? No, that is not like you, George. I have nothing to say. You have many things. Well, nothing that's not been said. Said by you, though, George. I do not know where to go. And nor did I. I want to make things that count, things that will be new. I did what I had to do. What am I to do? Move on. Stop worrying where you're going. Move on. If you can know where you're going, you've gone. Just keep moving on. I chose and my world was shaken. So what? The choice may have been mistaken. The choosing was not. You have to move on. Look at what you want, not at where you are, not at what you'll be. Look at all the things you've done for me. Opened up my eyes, taught me how to see. Notice every tree. Understand the light. Understand the light. Concentrate on now. I want to move on. I want to explore the light. I want to know how to get through to something new, something of my own. Move on. Move on. Stop worrying if your vision is new. Let others make that decision. They usually do. Just keep moving on. Thank you.